What is change in demand and what is factors affecting demand? So let's recap what we have learned in chapter 2. The definition of demand. It refers to the quantities of a good that consumers are willing and able to buy at all given price over a period of time, holding all other things equal. Here we have a diagram showing the demand for flowers. We have a demand curve here, D for demand, to present the demand for flowers. We still remember the demand curve is downward sloping. It represents the negative relationship between the price and the quantity. When the price, like here, is high, the consumer, they're going to buy less. When the price is low, right here, the consumers, they are going to buy more. So when questioned, when the price of flour increases from $20 to $30, so when the price is $20, the consumers, they are going to buy 600 units of flowers. When the price of flour increases from $20 to $30, the consumers, they are going to buy less flowers, only 200 units. So it shows that the consumer, the quantity demanded of flowers will decrease from 600 units to 200 units. And this is something you will learn in Form 4 if you choose economics as your elective. Right now, we just need to know the consumer, they're going to buy less. Do you think in this case it is a change in demand? No, it is not. This is not a change in demand. Let's look at what does it mean by change in demand. It refers to a change in the willingness and ability of consumers to buy goods because of some reasons. And these reasons are factors affecting demand, other than the price of that good. So the price of, except the price of that good, and we know that when there's a change in the price of that good, actually it's just the quantity demanded, just like this case. So it is not a change in demand. When there is a change in demand, the diagram will have a shift of demand curve. So I would like to emphasize again, we only consider these reasons, these factors affecting demand, which is not the price of that good changes. Let's look at the first factor. It is called consumers' attitude towards the good, taste of consumers. It can be due to advertisements or the trend of factions. So for example, we have a lovely TV star here. She's on TV and she is promoting these beautiful flowers. So it changes the consumer's taste towards the good. It changes the consumer's attitudes towards this good. So the consumers, they're going to find it, oh, so good. They're going to buy it. They are more willing to buy. They're more able to buy. So this is a change in demand. So what will happen? The original demand curve, we label it as D0. And because there is an increase in demand due to these factors called taste of consumer change, the demand curve is going to shift to the right. So we will have a increase in demand. The demand curve shift from D0 to D1. We draw the new demand curve labeled as D1, and then we use an arrow to represent the shift of demand curve, the increase in demand. You will find that the consumers, because it is the factors affecting demand, it changed the consumers' willingness and ability to buy flowers. No matter at what given price, they are going to buy more. So this caused the whole curve to shift. The second factor is called consumers' income. We have two types. The first type is called normal good. Normal good is that when your income increases, the consumers, they are going to consume more normal goods. A normal good, for example, car, expensive food, fashionable clothing, and flour is one of the normal good example we list here. So when the income increase, the consumer, they're going to consume more normal goods. So it caused the whole demand curve to shift to the right. And we know that this shift of demand curve, the increase in demand is because of the income of consumer increases. The opposite situation, it is called inferior good. It is plastic flowers. So when the consumers, their income increases, they are going to consume less inferior good. So plastic flowers is one of the example of inferior good. So cheaper food, second-hand clothing, we call it inferior good. Consumers will consume less when their income increases. So what will happen when the income of consumers increase? Consumers, they are going to buy less plastic flowers. So the original demand curve will label it as D0, and there will be a decrease in demand for plastic flowers. Demand curve will shift to the left because of the decrease in demand, and we call it inferior good. When the consumer's income increases, the demand curve will shift to the left, a decrease in demand. Thus, the plastic flower is inferior good. The third factor is called related goods. The first type is called substitute competitive demand. An example will be tea and coffee. We know that tea and coffee, they are very similar because they can satisfy a very similar or even the same wants of consumers. So they are drinks and they can keep us awake. And we call this kind of related goods as substitute, or you can call it competitive demand. We'll know that when the price of tea increases from P0 to P1, the consumer, they are going to consume less tea. Since tea and coffee, they are substitute of each other, consumers, they are going to look for coffee because coffee can also help them to stay focused. So consumers, they are going to buy more coffee, and it is a change in demand. Because this part, the shift of demand curve, it is due to the increase in price of tea. We call this substitute competitive demand. Another type is called complements joint demand. An example will be pen and ink. We need to use them together to satisfy a want. When the price of a pen increases from P0 to P1, the demand curve is downward sloping, and we know that the consumer, they're going to buy less pen. It will affect the demand for ink as well, because they are complements. We label the original demand curve as D0, and we find that the demand for ink will also decrease from D0 to D1 because they are complements. And the decrease in demand for ink is due to the increase in price of pen. So they are complements, they are joint demand. The fourth factor is called derived demand. It refers to the demand for the input is a derived demand for the products. Example will be ice cream and milk. We know that milk is an input of ice cream. When people increase their demand for ice cream, this will cause, it will result in an increase in demand for milk as well. Because essentially, milk is an input of ice cream. So when people, they are going to buy more ice cream, this causes demand for milk to increase as well. This is called derived demand. The fifth factor is expectation of future price. So imagine today is Monday and you look at the price of rice. It is 200. When consumer, they expect the price of rice will increase in the future. So on Friday, the price of rice will be $500. So it's their expectation. It will lead them to increase the present demand because they expect the price in the future to be more costly. So they will buy a lot now, increase their present demand. The opposite case will be when the consumer, they expect the price of rice will decrease in the future. For example, they expect the price of rice will become only $80 on Friday. So what happened? They will decrease their present demand. They will say, oh, I will buy later. So they will decrease their present demand because they expect the price of rice to decrease soon. They want to buy later. Six factors affecting demand is number of consumers. Let's imagine. So every consumer here needs 1 apple a day to survive. So they only need 2 apples. When there are more consumers, so they need more apples. So we call this an increase in demand. There are some other factors as well. For example, when it is the Valentine's Day, the people are going to increase their demand for flowers, chocolates, When there is Mid-Autumn Festival, the demand for mooncakes will increase.